Second DELAC meeting of the school year. Excited to see all of you on Zoom today. We will go ahead and get started with translation and agenda things and checking in with all of you. We've got a great agenda full of useful information today with many people giving some input. So we're glad you're here today.
Right, next slide, Tristan. Thank you. Okay, so we do have our amazing community liaison, Alejandra, with us today. And so if anyone would like Spanish interpretation, I'm going to turn that on right now. And what you'll do is click on that interpretation button, and it'll ask you if you want to toggle over to the Spanish room. So Alejandra, let me get you set up.
And let me just translate that so they know that what that's for. Va a
Perfect.
haber una opción para que puedan escuchar toda la presentación en español. Ahí le van a decir en la pantalla dónde apachurrar. Todavía van a poder ver la presentación y estarán escuchando mi voz con el resumen en español, si gustan.
Thank you.
Okay, today's agenda. Welcome and introductions. We'll review purpose of DLAC, which we do at the beginning of every DLAC meeting. We'll review the meeting minutes recap from last meeting. We're going to talk about reclassification today and Union School District EL data and LPAC timeline and where we are with that as a district. We're going to review the needs assessment highlights. We'll also talk about the Local Control Accountability Plan, also known as the LCAP. And we'll be talking about the English Learner Teacher Committee and site share out. So our teachers will be giving updates of current events and things that we've been doing to support multilingual learners. We have a bunch of things to talk to you about with upcoming family and community events within Union School District. And we're going to update you with Union School District's language ambassadors. We will end with some future events coming up within our school district.
Thank you. And I'm going to hop in really quickly, just to remind myself as well, to presenters, if we can all slow down a little bit, just because we do
Oh,
have Alejandra interpreting.
thank you for that reminder. Sorry about that, Alejandra.
Tristan, next slide, please.
Okay, so who is here today? We've got Heather Scherer, Director of Educational Services. We have Annie Murphy, Director of Student Services. TOSAs, we have myself, Janine Burris, Susan Lavelle, Abe Goldman, and Jackie Knudsen. We also have Tristan Ruiz, Data and Special Assessment Specialist. Alejandra Aguilar is our Spanish translator on today. Randy Martino, Community Relations, Health and Wellness. And of course, our English Learner Committee teachers, which will be updating us in a little bit. Okay, so for us, we need to make sure we take attendance and talk to you a little bit about how we can communicate in the chat. So if you can now please list your first name, last name, and school site in the chat box. If you have an individual student question, families, please click on the link in the chat, and myself or Heather will connect you with an answer to your individual student question. Next little piece of information is if you have any general questions of anything that's being discussed today, please type them in the chat and we'll answer them in the meeting as time allows, or we'll go ahead and review that and get back to you and follow up with you on your question. Okay. A quick feelings check, please. If you can put the number in the chat of which snowman you identify with today. You may only pick one. See some sevens, some ones. Oh, a 6 with an exclamation point. A 2, a 1, 207. Mm-hmm. I felt the same way. Anne Marie, the number 7. Thank you. All right. Next slide, please, Tristan. Okay, we review the purpose of DELAC at each meeting. So we learn about the district programs and services provided to English learners in Union School District. We're serving as an advisory capacity with a district personnel to review the implementation of programs for English learners. Sometimes that's an update, or sometimes that's what's coming up. We serve as an advisory capacity with district personnel to annually review and update the district master plan for English learners. And finally, we learn about the parent involvement activities in Union School District. Okay, here are our previous DELAC meeting minutes. So just a couple of highlights there. We always review the purpose of DELAC. We reviewed our previous May minutes. Clarification of staff, needs assessment was shared with all of us and families. We talked a lot about the importance of school attendance. We had a 4th and 5th grade music teacher share about those updates within our school district, reviewed the EL data and LPAC timeline. Something that was also shared was GLAD teacher trainings at all the sites. And our English Learner Teacher Committee and site share out, they had all the updates. Of course, we highlighted upcoming community events. And then we explained our website for parent resources as well. Okay. Tristan, next slide.
All right, so I will jump in here for these next few slides. We always like to kind of set the stage at these meetings by sharing what our demographics are. So here in Union School District, we currently have about 815 English learners, which makes up almost 15% of our total enrollment in the district. This number is about to change fairly significantly in the next month or so. Because we have over 100 students that are eligible for what is called reclassification, which is very exciting. It's a big deal. And actually, Tristan, if you head over to the next slide, I will talk more about that. So as everyone on here knows, English learners take an assessment each year called the LPAC. It's a state requirement in California. Every state has their own requirement. So as far as what the test is called, ours is called the LPAC, which is the English Language Proficiency Assessment for California. And so when a student scores an overall level of a 4, and scores at least a 3 in all of the domains, which are reading, writing, listening, and speaking, then the student has met the first step for reclassification. So once we get those LPAC scores, then we look for all the students that have scored a 4, and we move them on to the second step. And the second step is that we're required to use a state assessment if we have one, and we use something different for our little kiddos who don't take the state assessment. And we have to check that score to make sure they're also indicating on the state assessment that they are meeting grade level proficiency in English language arts. So for students in grades 3rd through 8th, we look at their score to make sure they've met at least the proficient level. For English language arts, some students score at the advanced level or the exceeds level. That's great too, but we have to have at least that proficient level. And then for our K2 students, since they don't take the state assessment until 3rd grade, we look at their reading level. And if their reading level is on track, then we move all of those students to the 3rd step. And the 3rd step is we reach out to all of the teachers of these over 100 kids, and we have them complete a form where they indicate whether each of those students is doing well in class, keeping up with grade level standards, all around the idea of not just reading or writing, but also listening and speaking and having those academic conversations within the school day. And so to get to this point, those first two tests are pretty stringent. So to get to that teacher point, most students then do move on to the fourth piece, which is called parent consultation. And so with parent consultation, parents of students that are eligible receive, first of all, a letter, like a email letting them know that their students are eligible. And then it's followed up by a phone call because we want to engage in conversation with parents about this whole process, what it means. And so this year, our wonderful Alejandra, who's currently interpreting in Spanish for us, made all of the calls. So parents, some of you on this Zoom may have actually talked to Alejandra if your student scored a 4 on the LPAC. So Alejandra explains the process, asks for any follow-up, if they have any follow-up questions. And then once parents say that they agree with the reclassification, then the process is pretty much over. After that, then we will send out a digital signature form for parent, principal, and teacher to all sign because we just need that accountability piece. And then we change the status in our school database stating that the student is now RFEP, and that student is then considered reclassified. I kept saying about 100 students, and now I'm looking back at my slide. We had 145 students eligible for reclassification this year, which is amazing. So it's a long process. It's a stringent process, but we just want to really make sure that we are reclassifying students at the right level so that they will continue to succeed in their classes moving forward. And so this whole process follows a bigger timeline. We just tend to call it the LPAC timeline for the year. And so the whole timeline is listed here. And so I won't read the other months, but currently January, February, that's where we are contacting and consulting with families about eligible students for reclassification. And we like to do it at this time of the year because we want to make sure that we finish that whole process before we start doing our summative LPAC testing. And because the students that are reclassified won't take the LPAC anymore. So we will begin doing the LPAC summative assessment on February 24th, but we have through May 30th to complete the LPAC. So we have a good long chunk of time to test our remaining, what would be 650-ish students. And then from there, then the whole process starts again. We get the scores back from the state over the summer and go through the whole process. So it really is a pretty good system. And it tends to serve our students well, families well. Parents, hopefully you received your LPAC scores. We send those out every year through Parent Square. But if you are on this call and are don't remember how your student did on the LPAC or would like another copy of the score, fill out the link in the chat that Tristan has been dropping in with your name and email info. And I can send you your student score reports from last year. It's great to review those. There's actually LPAC like prep questions or more LPAC information on our state website that's very helpful if you're curious about what your students are being asked to do. Similarly, there are those same resources for the CASP state assessment that all of our students take. So if you're interested in that as well, fill out that link and I can send you those websites and I can send you your kids' scores from last year if you're curious. Another part of DELAC, and so those of you that were on the meeting back in September, we talked about this and then we sent it out a few more times to all of our parents of English learners. We do what is called a DELAC needs assessment. So throughout the school year, every year, again, things tend to kind of be cyclical. There are various surveys that districts need to push out to get parent input. And so we think it's very important that we do a survey, a specific survey for parents of English learners. So we hope you take all of the surveys, but really this DELAC needs assessment survey we find very valuable. So we did get 31 responses, which isn't a ton. So we're going to try to keep drumming it up, but it is more than last year. So we're trending in the right direction, but we just need to figure out ways to keep getting it out. Every school site was represented. And one piece of information of note is that 45% of the parents that filled it out said that they regularly attend school meetings, such as DELAC and Home and School Club. And so while we would like that 45% to obviously increase, because that's only about, it's a little less than half of the people that filled out the survey, we were proud to see that parents are getting involved, even if it's just joining in the DELAC meeting on Zoom. Many parents in our district are very busy, and we get that. And so we just are trying to find all the ways that we can to connect and get feedback from. So from those that took our DELAC needs assessment survey, the top 5 areas of interest for things that we can offer parents are listed here. I won't read them all out because you can see them, but I did want to give a little plug for that number 5. Actually, I guess it should be number 1, but the Rosetta Stone Parent Program. So if you haven't heard of Rosetta Stone, it is an app that there's a cost associated with it, but the district has purchased a number of licenses that we will kind of lend out to parents for anyone looking to improve their English on Rosetta Stone. It actually could teach you not just English, a number of other languages, but it is a license. So if you are interested in receiving a Rosetta Stone license, it would be free for you. We've already purchased them. Please, again, fill out that form in the link in the chat with your name, email address, and then just list in the notes that you would like a Rosetta Stone license, and we can get you set up with that. There are other language programs out there, like Duolingo, I know is a popular one that has a free version, but this one really is just a really good one. And again, we've already purchased some of the licenses. Tristan, next slide, please. These are the top, and it says 6 because I think I combined LPAC and SBAC, but the top topics that parents who answered the needs assessment stated that they would like to hear more about during school meetings, such as DELAC. And so what we're going to do, we're presenting this information with you today, and then at our next DELAC meeting, we're going to have some little mini presentations on some of these things, including our reading programs and the curriculum that we use, math programs and the math curriculum that we use, strategies parents can use to help their kids be successful at school, and then more info about state testing. So again, I kind of gave you an overview about LPAC, but I can share at our next DELAC meeting more about the CASP, the big CASP state assessment that happens in April, May area. So that's kind of our survey data from this year's needs assessment. And if just before I turn it over to Annie, if we've had some parents have been joining in, if you would like Spanish interpretation, click on that interpretation button at the bottom of your Zoom. And Alejandra is here for you. All right, with that, I would like to reintroduce everyone to Director Murphy, who will share out about our LCAP.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It is LCAP season. Tristan, if you could go to the next slide. And so this is the time of year where we come and update you about the LCAP, share what the LCAP is in case for those that don't know or don't remember, and then our next steps. Next slide, please. So the LCAP is a story. It's required by our California Department of Education, but we also want to look at it as a story telling document where we're able to tell our story through our goals, our metrics, and our actions. And we're able to talk about the past, the present, and the future. And it responds to questions of where we were, what we did about it, and did it work? And if it didn't work, then it's our job to adjust our metrics, actions, or goals. Next slide, please. So the LCAP is a 3-year plan. Last year, we closed out the old LCAP, and this year is the first year of our new LCAP plan. So we have a couple more years with the same plan. And it annually evaluates and describes our goals, action, services, and it is tied to the California dashboard. And we kind of look at it as a continuous improvement model where we're looking to understand if there's any gaps or problems, how do we make a plan to address those, carry out that plan, look back and reflect, and make next steps, changes. Next slide. As we're thinking about our LCAP, we want to think about the students that we represent in our district. These 3 just are not specific students in our district, but represent students in our district and the different types of where students are, their learning abilities, their personalities. And as we look to our LCAP, we want to look at all of our students and make sure that they are seen and heard within our LCAP. Next slide. So we get funding from the state. It's called our LCFF funding, so local control funding formula. And they give us a certain amount of dollars per student. And then we get what's called grade span adjustments. So K1, they get a little bit extra. And then in high school, you get a little bit of extra too. And then we have add-on adjustments based on the number of concentration of our low-income students, our English learners, and our foster youth. Our district has a small percentage of all 3 of those populations. So we just get it's like a smaller amount. Some districts have a much larger amount and they get an extra like 55% per student. And then that all goes into a bank, and it is our job in the LCAP to show how we are using the funding. Next slide. So this is a slide or a graph of our demographics in our district. The highlighted one in yellows are those 3 focus areas. So you'll hear me talking a little bit about unduplicated students, and those are English learners, low income, and foster youth that we have to write to specifically as well in our LCAP. So as you can see, our numbers have stayed they've grown or down, but pretty consistent across the board. Next slide. So with that local control funding, as you see in these 2 pictures, we have a picture that shows equality, both sides getting the same thing. And we see that one side does not look the same as the other, with maybe some broken windows, not as many buildings. It looks just a little bit more run down at the other side. And then we look at equity, where both sides now look the same. They're both flourishing, but one side has some more resources. And so our job is to make sure that students are getting what they need to be the most successful. And that might look different for each student. Some students might excel at math. Some other students might need a math intervention to be able to excel. And so we want to look at the equity piece on how we provide the same resources or what each student needs to succeed. And as I said before, the local control funding formula, we look at the equity, we look at our, because we get the funding so we can control how it's spent, and our continuous improvement model. The next slide. So I mentioned earlier that requirement for increasing and improving services. So in the LCAP, there's a certain percentage of funding that is set aside that targets specifically our EL, low income and foster youth. And we have to describe in the LCAP, what are we doing to increase or improve services to them? So we have our base services that we provide for everyone. But then we have to look, what are we doing that goes above and beyond to specifically address our English learners, our low income students, and our foster youth? And so we have to write in our LCAP, we have actions that are targeted specifically toward these student groups. And while at the same time, we might, our data across the board might show that, low income students and ELs might struggle in a certain area. So we add in interventions. And while it is targeted toward those students, it can also be used for all students in the district. And so we look at how do we increase these services in quantity and quality, and we have to address that in the LCAP. Next slide. So our goals, we have 5 goals in the Union School District LCAP. The first goal I'll kind of summarize for you is just to provide appropriate conditions to support teaching and learning. Making sure we hire the best teachers, making sure that our buildings are good, that we have that our curriculum follows the state standards, and that we ensure access to all instructional materials and technology for students. Our goal 2 is to raise the achievement of all students while closing achievement gaps in our identified student groups. And this means through differentiated instructions on the state standards, culturally responsive and develop students' collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking skills. So goal 2 is around the instruction piece. Next slide. Goal 3, we talk about educating the whole child, providing integrated social, emotional, behavioral, and mental health support systems. So this looks at our SEL curriculum that we provide for students, our mental health counselors at each school site, the counselors at the middle school sites, and the different ways we check in to find out how students are doing. We do a California Healthy Kids survey for students in 5th through 8th grade. And then we also do another survey, that kind of a perception survey for our students as well. Goal 4 looks at enhancing parent engagement and improving communications. So this makes sure how are we reaching out to our families, making sure that they are feeling part of the community, that they feel like they have a voice in what we do, how we can make sure we get feedback from them so that we can provide specific things based that they need, and connecting them to the community, making sure they feel part of their schools and that they're participating. And then goal 5, I'm just going to read this one because it is a specific one that is tied to something that we have to use from the state. So we have to address the underlying systemic conditions leading to the significantly disproportionate identification of Hispanic students for special education assessment under specific learning disability. In the state, they call it CSIS. It's a plan that we have to do. And if you're over-identifying any student group for specific learning disability, you would have a plan like this. There are many districts in our county that have CSIS plans. And we decided such an important thing that we wrote a goal for it in our LCAP. Next slide. All right. And the most important part is our educational partner input. So in late February, we'll be sending out a survey. It's part of our annual perception survey, where we have specific questions that we want to hear from all of our stakeholders, which means our teachers, our aides, our parents, community members, our students. And so we want to make sure that their voices are heard. And so when you get this survey, please, please respond, because we truly take what is said in there and we look at our LCAP. I'll give one quick example. We have what we call student senators at each site, and we meet with them throughout the year. And Heather and I go out and meet with them and share about the LCAP, and we get their feedback. The last couple of years, they have talked to us about bathrooms not being clean and the food. So we have worked really hard that our maintenance and operations have created a whole new protocol for cleaning bathrooms. We've worked really hard to the food. We actually had some students tell us today that the salad bar has improved greatly. They love all the fruit options, and that they see the food looks different and that there's more options for them. So we do take their feedback seriously, and we try to find ways to include it into our LCAP.
Thank you, Annie. I just quickly want to say, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, for anybody that wants to access the DELAC agendas or the previously recorded DELAC presentations, they are meetings, they are posted on the Union School District website. So just want to let you know that those are always posted for you to reference if you need to later. Okay, the time has come for our EL committee teachers to share out. The focus is support around multilingual students as well as current events at your school site. So teachers, I will go ahead and say a site. If you guys can go ahead and unmute yourselves and share what's going on at your site. So we will start with Alta Vista.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shweta and I teach second grade at Alta Vista. We have been using all the techniques and strategies to help the students who are learning English or who are new to our country. Besides those strategies, I've been looking forward to sharing this one experience with you. My teammate, another second grade teacher, she has received a new student. She joined us only 1 week ago, and she speaks only Hebrew. So we were all brainstorming how to help her, and some of her students, past students who are now in third grade, fourth grade, or fifth grade, they wanted to help her. Of course, first couple days, the student was very scared and she felt like she was shocked in the classroom. But it is just so lovely that I wanted to share with you. All the students, they came to the teacher and they said that these were the problems that we faced when we were new to English. And they wrote some words and some helping hints for the teacher on the note cards that this is what's going to help you. And now, that teacher and the student, they both are learning each other's language. Now, the student is teaching the teacher Hebrew, some of the words in Hebrew, the same words that they have been learning, and the student is learning them in English. Yeah, I really, when we found out that this is how the whole school has come together to help the teacher and the student, it was just so heartwarming, and I wanted to share with you all. And other than this, we recently had a dance party, the school-wide dance party at Union Middle School. Everyone loved it, and it gave an opportunity to all the English-speaking and non-English speaking families to come together and connect with each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I definitely got the good, feel good chills there on what a great community you've built at Alta Vista. Thank you for sharing that story. Carlton.
Hi, I'm Josie Morley. I'm the English language learning assistant at Carleton. So I take small groups of the level ones and twos, English learners. So I probably have a few of parents here of my students. Something that we started doing in December and I've continued with is having a few groups that are focused on just phonics in addition to their regular English groups. These are leveled and the groups have been formed based on their phonics needs. So they might look different from the composition of their regular ELL groups. So overall, it's been a good process and hopefully we're zeroing in on specific needs of your students. School news, today is actually a big day at Carleton. Tonight is family bingo night and it starts at 5 o'clock. So you're not late, you can make it. This is a free event and all family members are welcome. Children of all ages are welcome to go. And it's just a fun bingo night to get together, get to know other people at our school. And we have several teachers who attend the event and call out numbers. And that's really fun for the students. And there was an assembly that all grade levels got to attend today that was I believe it's called Taekwondo. I think I'm saying it right. And it's Japanese drumming. And I know I talked to a few students who attended the assembly and said they really enjoyed that. So lots of fun things happening.
Thank you, Josie. Let's go to Dartmouth Middle School.
Hello. So Sarah, should I go ahead? I think Sarah's on here too, but I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Susie Powers, and I'm the English language development teacher at Dartmouth. And let's start with something social. We recently had a lovely dance called the Winterfest, and it was just a beautiful night with fun activities, lovely decorations. It was beautiful, and food. And, when Major, our assistant principal, gets on to make announcements about these activities, he often says, this is a memory making opportunity. And I love that because it really is. And it's not easy to put it all together, it's a lot of effort. So I want to say a huge shout out to all the volunteers, the parents, the teachers, the students, everyone that puts so much effort into these extracurricular activities, because it really is cool to see the pictures afterwards and see children bonding and just coming together. And so that's a cool thing on the social side of things. And then on more of an academic EL side of things, we recently had a different type of get together, and that was LPAC prep rally, we like to call it. And it's just a fun time to bring and invite all of our EL students who will be taking the LPAC coming up here this month or February. And we have over 100 students doing that. And so we came together, played a little guessing game about how many languages are represented at Dartmouth, which is an amazing 35 different languages. And then went over some tips and tricks for taking the LPAC and just spent some time together. And so if students have any more questions, they know where to go and how to prepare. And so, yeah, those are some things happening. And upcoming things, we have a drama production coming up called Guys and Dolls. So if you're interested in seeing the production, that's a great way to get involved and also maybe encourage our own students to do something new.
Thanks, Susie. Myself and Abe got to be there at Dartmouth when Susie was doing her LPAC rally, and it was such a supportive and encouraging environment for so many. So thanks again for doing that, Susie, for that community. It was wonderful to come together.
Oh, thank you. You were both a huge help.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to Guadalupe.
Hi, Amy Staringhouse from Guadalupe. So we also are using our GLAD strategies, and I know within my own classroom a lot more charts, a lot more sentence starters. And I was just telling everybody for the 100th day, I always do a museum walk where they have pictures from 100 years ago, and I put in the elevations, I notice, I wonder strategy. So all the kids were walking and doing that. Kids are also continuing to do Imagine Learning on their own. One thing I've been doing in my classroom is part of third grade is having, learning about why people come to California. And since I would say a good over half of my students' parents are immigrants, I asked them to fill out a questionnaire of what brought them here to the United States. We also had our janitor and one of the kindergarten teachers. We interviewed them and talked to them just to talk about, all the different places that we have come from. On the social side too, we had our Roars Assembly today for positive behavior. We have a couple spirit days coming up. Last week was science camp for our 5th graders, and we have talent show and the science fair coming up. That's not till March. And I noticed that student enrollment for Union opens tomorrow. So it's going on at Guadalupe.
Thanks, Amy. What a great idea to get everybody's story and how they came to California. I'm sure that was a wonderful conversation in your classroom. Great idea. Okay, let's go to Leeds.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anne Marie Guido. I teach 2nd grade at Leeds. Just as far as Leeds community goes, we 2 weeks ago had our family reading night, which was such a wonderful opportunity for just like another free, awesome event for the community to come together. And teachers that couldn't be there donated reading games and books, and teachers that were there were doing like special read alouds. Really awesome to get reading on the mind because literacy is so important and make it fun. Monica and I shared from the EL committee with our staff the couple of I guess strategies, but we also showed them the collaborative writing, which I shared with some of you. literally the next day, one of our teachers immediately taught it using a social studies Revolutionary War era reports. They were drafting ideas. And it was just so cool to see, we did this activity with adults, but to see it actually done with students literally like the next day was great to just see how motivated our staff is. And additionally, I think the final thing I should say is that we are getting GLAD training again starting next week. All of our teachers are going to get some time to work with GLAD and really make a lot of our content accessible for our ELs through those strategies. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. I'm so excited to hear about reading night success and having that collaborative writing moment within classrooms. Good work over at Leeds. All right, Naden.
All right, hello. So Taylor and I will be presenting about Nodden, and we are going to talk about this week. We have the Nodden students are participating in the Great Kindness Challenge, where the students are showing acts of kindness and giving, notes to previous teachers, appreciation. And it's so cool to see the environment where everyone is kind of trying their best to show kindness throughout the campus. And also, we celebrated the 100th day of school yesterday, which is a remarkable day. The students have been waiting for a long time to celebrate the 100th day. So kindergartners, they were dressed up like 100 years old kiddos, and they were so cute with their gray hair and, the canes, and it was so cute. First graders, they were superheroes, and they had their capes decorated with 100 things on it. And it was the celebration throughout the whole school, which was fantastic, celebrating the 100th day. We also celebrated the Lunar New Year. So we had many parents actually came on campus and they were presenting in the classroom. They brought food and they dressed up and they had, costumes that the kids can try on, which was fantastic, and read stories and books. And we are going to we have the family night as well, family game night tonight. Same thing, we have it. It starts at 5:30, where parents will come with their favorite board game, and they will, share, play, and have fun with the families, getting to know each other and enjoy the time. We have Dash Cash Rally tomorrow, where the kids will participate in a raffle and see who won, the most Dash Cashes. And this is to reinforce the positive behavior in the over the campus. And what else? We have Global Play Day coming next week, which will be Wednesday. Kids will come to school with their games. They can bring board games, any kind of games, as long as it's not electronic. So this is kind of, to encourage them to collaborate and work together and, develop these social skills. And Taylor?
Oh, I was just going to share that we have multicultural night coming up. We're starting to gather families that want to sign up to have a table where they get to share all about their culture. They have posters and they bring food and they wear outfits, and some sign up to do performances, and it's a super fun night. So they're gearing up to get that set up. So we're really looking forward to that. And then I guess the last thing I'll say is I think the power that our students have to make our ELs comfortable, especially those that don't speak English, has been really apparent this week. Especially today, we had 3 students who don't speak any English. They only spoke Spanish, and they all started today. And just hearing stories, I heard a 4th grade teacher tell me a story of how her student walked in and immediately just started writing words down that he wanted to be able to say in Spanish so he could help him around the playground and stuff. And so he was using his Chromebook and writing down the words in Spanish, and then was showed her this huge list, and he was like, I'm going to study it tonight so I can talk to him better tomorrow. And I just think as the teachers, of course, we're doing so many things to help, but I think it's just so amazing to applaud so many students that are also doing the work to help kids learn, help ELs just assimilate into our schools and feel comfortable and safe and welcome. And I think that was stories like that always make me happy. So I wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing that. It's always lovely when students reach out to make others feel like they belong. That sense of belonging is so important. So much to celebrate at Nodden and so many opportunities for the community to come together. Thank you for sharing that. Oster.
Hi, I'm Tara Mandanici. I teach second grade here at Oster, and I will be chatting about the fun things that we're up to. First of all, a few weeks ago, we had a spirit day put on by our student council. They suggested Crazy Hair Day, so everyone came with great crazy hair, and it was just a fun way for us all to connect. Also, we are having a sock drive for those less fortunate than us. We have kids' socks coming, adult socks, and all of that. And it's really great to see the kids caring about other people who don't have the same things that we do. Lunar New Year was a big celebration yesterday. We had lots of parents giving presentations. We had people in their native clothing. It was just so beautiful to see all the different cultures, and even just saying Happy Lunar New Year to some little kiddos, and they got the biggest smile on their face. So just kind of bringing them joy that way. Some EL news here at Oster. We just this morning had a meeting with our principal about starting our ELD classes again. So we're going to have 4 different teachers teaching it this time instead of 1. So we'll have much better targeted instruction based on age and, of course, LPAC level. But we're excited to get that going to reach all the kids that we can.
Great. Thank you for sharing. I love to hear that there's more targeted instruction and 4 teachers stepping up to add more support is lovely. Thanks for sharing that. All right, Union Middle School.
Hello, I'm Abe, filling in for Jen Zangwell, and she would like to share that we have some wonderful updates from UMS. Our ELL students are gearing up for LPAC testing by doing writing, listening, and speaking activities in their ELL class. We have also adopted a new curriculum that students are really enjoying. Side note, Heather and I were able to go in there today and see the new curriculum, and it was just wonderful. Kids were loving it, and it was grade level appropriate, great stories, really cool. We have a lot of exciting events coming up. On February 7th, we will be hosting our 6th grade dance. It's Disney themed, exclamation point. March 28th will be our annual Spirit game, which is our big basketball game against our rivals from Dartmouth Middle School. And we are also excited to announce our first annual multicultural night, which will take place on April 17th from 5:30 to 7 p.m.
Thank you for sharing. I'm excited to hear that Union's also going to have a multicultural night. I know they're so successful at the middle or at the elementary sites as well. Thank you all for sharing. Teachers, you gave such great insight into what's going on to your school campuses lately. Thank you so much. Tristan, next slide. Randy.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, everyone. It is so awesome in the last couple decades to see how the community has come together to celebrate the diversity, and having children be taking the lead at that is just awesome. And so way to go, parents and teachers and students, of course. So our 3rd annual Health and Wellness Fair will take place on March 29th, Saturday, between 2 and 4 p.m. at Union Middle School. And this year, again, we will have partners from our health and wellness industry and community, as well as departments within our school district. We have student performances, musical performances, choral performances. We'll have Stanford Bloodmobile there, therapy dogs, San Jose City, bike safety program. So lots and lots of things happening in a 2-hour window. And so you'll be receiving more information. We will also be having a booth with our language ambassadors, and we'll talk about that in a second. We have our first Spanish social on May 1st, and last year's was a huge success with families of all sizes and ages coming together to celebrate and to enjoy being together. And coming soon, our spring adult English classes will start again, And these were enormous hits. And not only just to help our families learn more English, but it was great to see the connections made between different cultures and different families, because often a lot of us have to work and can't make it to places like this. But the both two different things, we have a book club as well as a English learner class, and both were jam-packed every session, and lots of treats throughout, and families did not want them to end. So we look forward to another great couple sessions. And Language Line, if you haven't heard of Language Line, it is now everywhere within our community, not only our school community. I was recently at a county function where people call in to ask for advice, and Language Line is the only service they use, because Language Line has access to over 240 different languages, interpreters, super easy to use. And what I like about it, it gives families opportunities to be engaged with their child's learning, whether it's at a conference time, whether it's a question to the teacher or principal or someone at the front desk. It's really easy to use, and all families would have to do would be to say Language Line, and they will be hooked up with a interpreter, which will interpret everything they say and everything the other person says. And what we have found, that it encourages participation. So please, many of you probably do understand English and probably haven't used this service. Please try the service. You will be amazed at how much deeper in conversation you can get. And also, please encourage friends and neighbors who maybe shy away from communicating with others, that this is a service that they can use, and it's free. So thank you very much for getting out there and taking the risk, but we want to hear your opinions and share and celebrate with you. And our USD Language Ambassadors is a ongoing live group of people. And I think the last time we counted, Janine, we had maybe 18 different languages from last year that are covered. And families, what they do is they sign up. They say that they speak Farsi or French or Mandarin, and the list is quite impressive. And they are available to communicate to new families at their own school site, as well as within the district. And, you know, our goal is to, number one, encourage everyone to be participants in the events at the school and feel welcome, but also to build friendships with our families. A lot of people who have had to move from different countries and cultures feel isolated, and we really want families to find one another, as well as integrate into the English language component of what we have to offer. And so our language ambassadors, it's super easy. You can scan the barcode right now, the QR code. This will also go home in the next couple of weeks from your school sites. But it doesn't take a lot of work. And if you ask people who have been ambassadors, they cherish the opportunity to help others. And often friendships grow out of every interaction. So it's something we really encourage, and we love seeing community members stand up and represent and support others in our community. So our kids learn a lot when they're watching us, and if they see you reaching out to help others, guess what? They'll do the same.
All right. Thank you, Randy. And like Randy said, we will be pushing that info out through Parent Square and our school newsletters as well, just because we really believe in, like Randy said, kind of the power to connect families. And so we want to keep bolstering that. And again, just a plug for our adult English classes. We started this as a pilot last spring, so about a year ago, with one class. And the parents that attended just really enjoyed it. They did learn a lot, but as Randy mentioned, part of it is just they liked bonding with other parents and sharing their own stories. And so we will get more info out to you soon. The beginner class meets 2 days a week, and then the advanced class, which is a book club, meets one evening, late afternoon, evening a week on Wednesdays. Everything is free. All the materials are provided. So if you join the book club, we'll buy the book for you. And yeah, we just encourage you to attend if it's something you're interested in. And if it's not for you, if you could help us spread the word, that would be great, just because we want to try to reach as many parents as possible. So flyer coming soon. And then I think our last slide is just our plug for our last DELAC meeting. So that will be on May 8th on Zoom. We'll get all the info out on Parent Square again and send reminders through school newsletters. At that meeting, again, we will go back to our DELAC needs assessment and do some mini presentations on what parents asked for. So our reading program and curriculum, our math program and curriculum, any parenting classes that are coming up. And we will also provide, it won't be quite as lengthy as today, but we will provide any updates on the LCAP that we have made based on DELAC feedback, based on student senator feedback, and based on our LCAP survey, which will be going out to the whole school district, including our 4th through 8th grade students in the next month or so. So again, I know it's another survey, but surveys really are a great mechanism for us to collect as much information as possible. So we're trying to keep it shorter this year. Last year's was pretty long. So when that comes your way, we would love it if you could fill that out as well. And with that, we thank you. If you have filled out the link in the chat that Tristan has been dropping in, then Janine and I will get back to you. We'll try to get back to you tomorrow, but if not, early next week. And again, if you don't think you have a question, but you might have a question later, click on that link now so you have it and it'll be saved for you. And again, anything from if you want info on your students' LPAC scores, or if you want more info on the reclassification process, anything, one of us will get back to you kind of with a personalized answer, which we have found to be kind of the best way to answer questions such as those. And if you have a friend that couldn't make it today, just let them know that this recording and the meeting minutes and the slide deck will all be up on our website within the next few days as well. But with that, I just want to thank you, and thank you to all of our presenters. That was a lot of information, but it was presented very eloquently and was very engaging. So I just thank you all, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.